Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Christian. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, good day. Wherever you are, whenever you're seeing this, I hope you are good. So guys, today it is a new moon in Scorpio. We have a lot of planets in retrograde. A lot is going on in the cosmos, and this new moon in Scorpio is really pushing us to different depths. You know, this is going to be a new moon that's really challenging us to face hard things emotionally, you know, possibly even do some mirror work where you really allow yourself to face and feel things that we've been running from. All of these Mercury retrogrades, not just Mercury, but all of the retrogrades in general are really pushing us to make big changes, make big leaps, go from one space to a completely different space, make a 180 change. We know Scorpio energy is always about getting deeper than deep, you know, revealing the ugly, quote unquote, ugly or quote unquote bad stuff that we rather keep hidden. This is the time to bring that stuff to the light. And we know a new moon is all about a new beginning, a fresh start. So this is a chance to have a fresh start that is backed by deep healing, deep transformation, and just understanding things on a deeper level and having that bring you so much peace, so much, you know, clarity, so much wholeness that you really feel good about the hard work that you're doing. Because it is hard work, you know, it is hard work. We're not going to sit here and act like the work that we're doing is easy. It is difficult, but you know, this is about doing the emotional and spiritual work necessary so we can reap the fruits of our labor and feel good about where we are at the finish line, instead of feeling like we're in a space where, you know, no matter what we try, we still feel like we're being, you know, beat down by that darkness. This is definitely a chance to let go of the darkness and not bring it in with you to this next season. So we're going to be doing a reading to get into it. I hope you guys have been enjoying the latest readings and the latest drags. Stay tuned for all of the tea. Of course, we're going to be doing private new moon readings for $33. If you guys are interested, you can send in your payment to Venmo, PayPal, Zelle, or Apple Pay, and we will get those readings out to you. We being me. I'm sending those out every day. So if you guys want a new moon in Scorpio reading, get into it and we'll see specifically how these retrogrades, how this new moon energy is affecting you, and everything that you need to be aware of. We are in the middle of a thunderstorm right now, so if you guys hear any thunder or anything crazy, excuse me. But let's go ahead and get into this new moon in Scorpio. Again, I hope you guys have been enjoying the space. Make sure you guys follow Fated Counsel. Follow me on Instagram. Stay up to date with everything. Subscribe. Get a session before the year is out. Let's connect and get into these energies. All right, guys. So we're starting with the King of Pentacles. Beautiful. We also have the Hierophant. Let's get another card. We have some very strong energies coming in with the King of Pentacles and the Hierophant. Wow, the King of Swords. The King of Swords. Let's get into this boss energy. I'm fucking with this. All right, so the King of Pentacles. This is an energy of being a master of your finances, a master of your fate as well. The King of Pentacles is not just about somebody that has a lot of money. This is someone that has put in the work to maintain stability for themselves and the people in their family. You know, so this is about maintaining a lot of wisdom, a lot of stability, you know, getting to the point where you can trust that the fruits of your labor are coming back to you tenfold. You know, this is someone that knows that as long as they keep working hard, they're going to get the benefits. So not being afraid of hard work, not being afraid to put in the time, the effort, the risk, the investment to get what you want in the end. So really, really letting go of any doubt, any confusion, any fear, anything that's stopping you from betting on yourself and getting what you need. With the Hierophant, this is another message of being specific and dedicated and focused and being disciplined and knowing what you want. The Hierophant is a very spiritual energy, a very religious energy. This is an energy of a teacher, of a scholar, of someone that's very advanced in their spiritual journey, someone that's very comfortable in what they know and what they believe in spiritually. So things that are causing you to doubt your faith, things that are causing you to forget that all you need to do is pray. That's all you need to do. If you're ever confused, if you ever need an answer, you can just ask God for the answers. It's so much more simple than we think. You know, so the Hierophant is about having that be a strength. You know, how easy it is for you to connect with God, how easy it is for you to connect with your blessings, how easy it is for you to get the clarity that you need. Answers come easily. You know, confusion is cleared, you know, as soon as it sets in, because you're able to get those answers and step into your intuition. So get back connected with spirit. We need to get back in connection with spirit. We need to get back in fellowship with other people who believe as we believe. You know, I think that even if you don't want to go to church, find some people that are on the same journey that you're on spiritually. and faithfully. Find people that you can pray with, find people that you can read and research with, find people you can have conversations with about what you're learning and what you're experiencing. I think that's very, very important, because a lot of times we can underestimate the power of being spiritually secure. But knowing that God is in your back pocket, knowing that the creator of everything that ever is, ever was, ever will be, knowing that you have this energy within you and you can call on this energy and it will come to your rescue and give you clarity and bring you out of a dangerous situation and bring you to where you're supposed to be, that is a very powerful moment. A very powerful belief, something to know that will keep you from being afraid, keep you from having doubt, insecurities, keep you from, doing the same thing over and over again. Like, there's so much faith in yourself and pride in yourself that comes from following, who God wants you to be, and understanding that and having that close connection. Definitely feel like we need to get back into just knowing that we're taken care of, knowing that we're destined for greatness, knowing that even if we don't know what's going on, somebody does, and they're watching out for us. We need to know that and be aware of that and really, really get cemented in our beliefs, in our core belief system. And then we have the King of Swords. Okay, this is an energy all about trusting your judgment, trusting yourself, being the last one to have the last say, and meaning what you say, saying what you mean, feeling like you're at the peak of your intellect, feeling like you really can stand on what you know because you really have confidence in it. If you're someone that, allows other people to manipulate you, or you think you know something until you see something else, this is a reminder to trust yourself again and rebuild the relationship that you have with you so you can continue to guide yourself and lead yourself forward. This new moon is definitely challenging us to look within ourselves and to ask ourselves, how have I been neglecting my intuition? How have I been neglecting my inner voice? How have I been, making it seem like I don't know what I'm talking about? How have I been, kind of shooing myself away when I'm telling myself that something isn't right? It's definitely something to think about and be mindful of. All of this king energy, and with the Hierophant, this is energy of being at the top of your game, of being at the end of your journey, where you can really sit back and relax and know that everything is being worked out for you because you've done the work. You've done the work to get to the point that you need to be in. Let's keep getting into the spread. Remember that I'm doing private new moon readings. If you want to see what all of these retrogrades and this new moon energy is meaning for you, step into the bio to get into it. Not the bio, excuse me, honey. I forgot what app we on. Step into the description box to get into it. Let's keep going, guys. So we have the 8 of Pentacles. The 8 of Pentacles. We have the 9 of Cups. The 9 of Cups, and we also have death, okay? The energy of death, rebirth, renewal is super, super heavy with this new moon in Scorpio. Super heavy. All of the retrogrades, there's so much energy of death, of things coming to an end, of like a hard stop. Very, very, very heavy. So again, we have the energy of the king, like I said, coming to the end of your journey, being at the top of your game. I really feel like we're stepping into so much comfort in these spaces, kind of just so we can buckle down and, be ready to learn and manifest some new things. Like we're kind of getting settled at the top of our game so we can be ready to step back into that student position. The King of Pentacles and Swords and the Hierophant, this is not the energy of, being stagnant or not doing anything. This is about fighting for what you believe, fighting for your voice to be heard, letting it be known what you want, consistently doing the work to maintain what you've built. So all of this means being a good student, being a good student of life, being the type of person that's able to learn from, mistakes and experiences and your dreams and your visions, and being in constant communication with spirit, being able to really learn. So I think we should ask ourselves, what is teaching us? What's teaching you? What's manipulating you? What's, and I keep saying manipulate, not even trying to, but what's manipulating you? Scorpio energy is definitely, wanting to be in your own, wanting to be in control of yourself, wanting to make sure that nothing else is influencing you, that you are making the choices you're making, good or bad. You want to make sure that you're making the choices that you are standing by at the end of the day. And this 8 of Pentacles is about, doing the work to just create a solid sense of self that gives you the foundation that you need to feel like you can be strong and take that leap of faith and do what you need to and stand on principle. The 9 of Cups, this is also about wish fulfillment, getting all of the things that you want. So sometimes we feel like we have to stay where we are. We can't start over to get the things that we want. We have to stay where we are and get them right here. But sometimes going back to the drawing board, learning again, researching again, kind of getting back into the groove of, mastery over and over and over again. Sometimes being consistent in that flow is what keeps allowing abundance and opportunities to come to you. So don't be afraid to start that new project. Don't be afraid to scrap everything you've been doing and try something else. That can still be a position of power. You know, like it doesn't mean that you failed or that you're weak or anything. And that's why it's so good to really look yourself, you know, in the mirror, in the mind, in the energy, in the habits, figure out what you are holding back. Figure out what you're doing that is, you know, allowing you to not feel the most confident as you're going throughout this journey. Because this death energy is all about a necessary rebirth, a necessary space where we're in, where we can't take things with us into the future. So I feel, you know, this new moon is going to be definitely challenging us to let some stuff go, you know, have an emotional release, get some crying out, do a vent session, let yourself really feel, really understand, you know, what's stressing you, what's weighing heavily on you, understand where it's coming from, and commit to letting it go. And understand how good it's going to be to feel differently and believe differently, have different faith in yourself. You know, you'll be in a completely different space. And that's what we want to feel. That's what we want to know. That's what we want to be. We have the Emperor. We keep getting these boss-ass energies. The Emperor. The Devil. I'm not surprised that this is such a strong message, and the King of Cups. I'm not surprised it's such a strong message. I was literally just thinking like, wow, we have all of these masculine energies, and then we have a cup here and there. And of course we get the King of Cups, which is a very strong masculine, but also the balance of that feminine, the King of Cups, the king of emotional regulation and emotional maturity and emotional intelligence and emotional release. Now let's not jump ahead. Let's get into the Emperor and the Devil, okay? The Emperor and the Devil. Who is your boss? Who's in control of you? Who is leading you? You know, the Emperor is about really being confident in the decisions that you're making and, you know, just trusting yourself to make those hard choices. The Devil, what thoughts are in your head that are poisoning your mind? You know, like, I hate to do a lot because that's very dramatic, but this is the truth. You know, there's certain thoughts and beliefs that we have about ourselves that are stopping us from being the boss that we need to and stopping us from taking charge over our lives, quite literally. So it's time to dead that stuff. It's time to dead those things. And I think all of these retrogrades are putting us in positions where it's on us. At the end of the day, these are issues and problems and things that we have to solve for ourselves. We have to make peace with this stuff. We have to figure out what we're going to do when our back is against the wall, and we have to start over for us, and we have to figure it out for us, and we have to make it make sense for us. You know, we aren't able to do that if we don't know God, if we don't know ourselves, if we can't get clarity unless somebody gives us a reading, unless somebody gives us advice. You know, this is really, really key to recognize how evil it is to not feel connected to yourself, to feel like you have to seek outside of yourself for answers that already lie within you. That doesn't make sense. Like, that is dark for, you know, people to believe that they have to seek outside guidance, wisdom, advice, help, support. And this doesn't mean, you know, like I mentioned, I just talked about fellowship and how important it is to be around people who believe and, you know, feel the way that you do. But this is about feeling like you are incapable of doing it because you're not secure enough. You know, like you feel like you can't pray for yourself because you don't even know the words to say. You know, so you rather somebody else do it instead of going to someone else for counsel and learning how to do it yourself and growing. You know, the Devil energy is about feeling perpetually stagnant and not ever feeling like you can take a risk or try for yourself or get out of your head and take that leap and take that next step. You know, and there's a lot that we're supposed to be doing right now. There's a lot that we're supposed to be doing, a lot that we're supposed to be having and achieving and making happen. And with this King of Cups, you know, maybe this is the type of energy that we need. Maybe we need a stern energy to discipline ourselves. Now, this is coming within us. So what we need is what we need to do to ourselves. We need to make ourselves take the extra leap, make ourselves go the extra mile, convince ourselves that we are strong enough and capable enough and that we can do it. We want to push ourselves to, you know, to ask ourselves what's going on. We don't want to just ignore what we're needing emotionally. We want to be there for ourselves and connect with ourselves and know over anything that this is what we have to do. This is how we have to move. This is how we're going to get from one place to the next place to the next place. And we want to feel confident in that. We want to feel like we have what it takes to get ourselves back together. So with all of these kings and with all of these strong, powerful, masculine figures that are popping up, you know, we need to really, really buckle down and get control over our emotions in a way that allows us to do what we need to do and handle our business. And the masculine approach to dealing with emotions is a very critical approach. It's about saying, what can I afford to feel right now? What do I have to do? How much time do I have to break down? How many days do I have to be sad? What do I need to take from this? What is what is underneath this, beneath the pain and the crying and the insecurity and what I'm feeling? What's really happening? What's been said to me? What have I said? What do I believe? What has changed? Kind of like looking at what we're feeling like a science, and that is such a drag. People complain often, dating men, being around men, that men are always trying to analyze emotions and trying to figure out the why behind emotions. And sometimes there isn't a why. Sometimes we're just feeling what we feel and that's it. And all of our emotions are always valid. But in a season where you're trying to break free and develop new beliefs, you have to break down your emotions in a methodical way. You have to. And, maybe we've given ourselves the freedom to feel, and maybe we haven't given ourselves enough boundaries with our emotions. We also need boundaries with our emotions. Like, you can feel a certain way, but you have to make sure that you have control over that, and we don't ever want to just let our emotions get out of hand to where now it's our enemy and we have an unhealthy relationship with what we're feeling. And I feel like we felt so many deep, hard things this year, just in general. A lot of things are coming up and we're having to regurgitate a lot of pain, and it can be very exhausting and very triggering and just obviously not fun, obviously not what anybody wants to do. But I feel like it's important for us to just develop a different method of dealing with certain things. And that's why we have the Hierophant. That's why we have the Emperor. That's why we have the King of Cups. It's about strategy. It's about figuring out how to handle those emotions and figuring out how that is going to help you go forward and help you step into where you need to be. We have the Hanged Man, and we also have the Page of Pentacles. The Hanged Man and the Page of Pentacles. So here, we have messages of literally taking a risk, trying new things, giving up the control that we feel we have, and trusting that God is always in control. So I think sometimes, and we also have the Page of Pentacles. So I think we need to be willing to let ourselves break a little bit, be willing to let ourselves have a new idea kind of start over in our brain. And what I mean by starting over and developing new ideas, it's about doing something different from here on out. So every time I feel this way, instead of doing this, I'm going to do this. Every time I want this, instead of doing this, I'm going to do this. Every time I want to call this person or act this way, instead of doing this, I'm going to do this. It's about, trying to do things differently after you've been doing them one way for years and years and years. And we're so comfortable doing things in a specific way, it's going to be difficult, confusing, challenging, frustrating to make those changes. But that's also why we have this Page energy. And a lot of the energies that we have are also about doing your due diligence. The Emperor is definitely someone that does their due diligence and is by the book. The Hierophant is the same way. Even the King of Pentacles, even the King of Cups. These are energies in great power that focus on the minute details that allow them to be in great power. Like we can't, people always say a good leader is a good student. That's the truth. A good whatever is also a good student. The best kings have the most, the best kings that are the most, kind to their people, have the most sympathy, and they can relate the most to the poorest people in their chain of class system or whatever the case may be. We're very good at the top because from the very bottom, we've been paying attention to the journey and what we need to do. We can easily get to the top. You can easily end up in a CEO position, in a high paying position. You can easily end up being a husband or a wife, easily end up being a parent, easily end up in a big house. You can end up in those spaces and not have the grit and the patience with yourself to continue to learn and continue to make mistakes and to continue to figure things out. Because when you get to that point, you're worried about, oh my God, what am I going to lose? Oh my God, I came so far, I'm going to start all over. There's so many things that are trying to keep you in that position of kind of, ego, a position of ego, pride. I feel good about where I am. I worked hard to be where I am. But we're always working hard to get to the next spot. You're not going to be working hard to get in one space, cross your legs, and sit there and never move again. So I think we need to take this new moon in Scorpio to figure out how we learn and also how we treat ourselves when we need to learn. Are you kind to yourself when you realize you're starting over? Or do you feel like, damn, why did I miss this the first time? Why am I having to do this? Even our relationship with learning has to become one that's positive and lovely and beautiful and bright. We have to feel good about stepping into new spaces and learning and trying things differently. We have to feel good about that. We don't want to put ourselves in a position where we resent the new spaces that we need to be in. And even with the Page of Pentacles and the King of Pentacles, you don't think the King of Pentacles goes back to the space of the Page of Pentacles or even the Ace of Pentacles? Even at the top of your journey, you're going to need to come up with new ideas and start over in some spaces and have some new projects going. And that's a good thing. And that's why we have to make sure we don't start stuff just to finish, and we don't get in stuff just to kind of cross our legs and be done with it. We have to really be connected to the journey and connected to the process of getting things. And when we don't love that, when you just seek results, it's going to be a really grim life, because the results that we experience are really few and far between. We have a result here, a result here, a result here. We're not going to have a string of incredible results. We're going to have to work hard in every season to get to the next level and the next level and next level. So in between, when you're trying to figure things out, when you're not having your best days, when you're doubting yourself, when you're questioning what you even want to do and who you even are, you want to be able to still feel love for that part of yourself, still feel comfortable telling the people around you, like, hey, I need help. You may only be comfortable being a boss in your community. Are you comfortable asking for help and getting the support that you need? We want to make sure we're able to do all of those things. And we want to make sure we're able to do all of those things, and that across the board, we're able to give ourselves what we need. Let's get into it, guys. Maybe we'll wrap up here. We have the Hermit. We have the Queen of, we have the Nine of Swords, and we have the Queen of Cups. So with the Hermit, looking within and not stopping, taking your time. This is going to be a lifelong journey that we're stepping into. It's not like 6 months of discovering yourself and then you're good for another year. Like, you always want to be comfortable in the hermit mode. Every time you're alone, you should be in hermit mode. You should be figuring out why you feel what you feel, why you think what you think, what's been happening, what's been processing, what's been coming up for you, what's been making sense, what hasn't been making sense. When you're alone, you should always be in hermit mode. You should always be in reflection, looking around, figuring out what you can learn, figuring out what you can see. You should always be in that space. Don't ever waste moments with yourself, judging yourself for what you want to do, judging yourself for wanting to start over, judging yourself for wanting to figure new things out. You want to take your time with yourself to really let yourself be you and let yourself grow and expand and experience all that life has to offer without beating yourself over the head, feeling like you have to experience only one way of moving forward. Also, the Nine of Swords, again, letting go of depression, sadness, anxiety. This energy is not the energy of the Hierophant or the Emperor or the King of Pentacles, Cups, or Swords. This is not the energy of someone that's comfortable, confident, feeling good, looking good. This is the energy of someone that fakes it, and when they're with themselves, they can't stand it. When they're with themselves, they feel judged, they feel shame, they feel guilt. We have to repair the relationship that we have with ourselves. And Scorpio is saying, look at the darkest, spookiest parts of you and face that. That is where the breakthrough is going to come. And again, we have the Queen of Cups. So I think we have this cup energy here of wish fulfillment, the King and Queen, powerful energies, to just remind us that, all of the hard emotional work is going to pay off in the end. We do the hard emotional work so we can really, really get the rest and relaxation and peace that we need. The hard emotional work is only going to help us get closer to where we're supposed to be. It's not going to be a burden on us that we can't get off our back. It's literally only setting us up to be in the space that we need to be in. And hopefully from that space, we can flip it. We can set ourselves up for more greatness, more happiness later down the line. We want to set ourselves up for victory and success. And we want to do that from our emotions on up. We don't just want to focus on the practical. We have a lot of good practical stuff down, but we want to apply that same practical stuff to our emotions. We can feel so good practically, but not know how to deal with our emotions. See your emotions like everything else that you tackle. Figure out what you need to do, what isn't working. I think approaching it with a critical, practical mindset could be beneficial, because it will allow you to understand the true effects of everything that we're experiencing. And that's what we could be missing. I know I'm feeling this, but how is this really affecting me on a very like granular level? What is this really making me feel and think and believe about myself and about the world that I am in? So yes, guys, that is the tea. That is what we have to look forward to with this new moon in Scorpio, honey, that is happening today. Get your private new moon in Scorpio readings. Check down below in the description. Let me know how you guys feel about this message. I'm excited to continue to connect with you guys. Check down below in the description again to get your private new moon reading. I love you guys. Thank you guys for being here. I hope you enjoy these energies, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys. Bless.